Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Rishi. It's great to see you. Another great day in paradise today. We are excited to do another series of project reviews today. Should be fun and invigorating. Shall we get to it, or
Yeah, let's get to it.
tell people what Pioneer is, or do you think they know?
If you don't know, I think we can point you to pioneer.app.
Sounds great. Yes, Pioneer Data App, super helpful. So what we're going to do is go through a bunch of different projects now and try to give some of our players, some of our winners, really whoever wants who's kind of in the Pioneer orbit, a bit of feedback about the work that they're building. And what I'm going to do just to make things kind of fun and exciting for us is I'm going to screen share here and we're going to get after it. So hopefully you all can see my screen here. This is obviously Pioneer. We can give feedback to ourselves later on. But let's get started here. We'll load up the first player. And Rishi, tell us a bit about the desired format here. What should we be doing some
Yeah, so
feedback on the home screen?
for most of these today, we're going to be doing landing page and product feedback along with a bunch of taglines. First up, we have Roman from Russia. And he also has a question that we can get to after you take a look at the landing page and give some feedback there.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Okay, so we'll just dig into it, do some quick landing page feedback here. Find time for things that matters, turn your schedules into blocks, reuse link and fill them blocks in meetings, locations, okay? Main issue here is, and by the way, I'm gonna narrate kind of what I'm thinking and I'll have the experience of being like most customers, not really understanding what you do, or I'll try to make believe if I don't. It's really unclear what the company actually does. I would say on the Pluckd, the structure of the homepage is fairly nice and wide, and there's kind of interesting stuff to look here. But you're kind of scrolling this, and you're not really knowing what it is that the companies do. So that would be my largest feedback. Now we can very quickly try to understand what it does, and then maybe relabel the homepage as such. Time is more valuable than money. Okay, that obviously seems right. Finding a work-life balance, spend more time with people you care about, create time blocks. Okay, maybe it seems like some type of Asana thing, link blocks to topics. Okay.
One framing that he
Okay, it's
has
a tool for
on his application is on his project description is Google Calendar meets Notion.
give me a clue. That's very Google Calendar meets Notion. Google Calendar meets Notion. Okay, that's good. It does seem to be like some type of task management thing. So I wonder if, honestly, this is going to be one of those products where we can be somewhat inspired maybe by the way these guys operate, where this doesn't really describe anything about how to use Strava and any of its features, but the screenshots do a great job of communicating the gist. So like I think Monkey Brain processes this email thinking, processes this page looking like, okay, it's a running app recording and Apple Watch. And so I wonder if the right way to think about this homepage is you can put here whatever you want, just put a real screenshot of the app. This looks way too confusing. I think that would be one of the simplest ways to fix it. Request early access, that takes me to an Airtable form. Okay. So I would just try to have like just here, no need to do this crazy nice little blanket thing you got going on, wave, blanket, whatever. Just put a screenshot of the thing in action. I think that would communicate it quite a bit because it's not really clear to me. And then if you do that, one interesting thing if you do that is you are allowed to, like Strava, have a bit more aspirational messaging. If you really have a great screenshot, which is usually something we ask people not to do, or we think people shouldn't do. People obviously feel free to do what they want, but then you could say something like take back control of your time, something like that. Anyway, Screenshot here. Anyway, that's homepage feedback. Any good questions we should be answering?
Roman's asking, what are the main things I should think about hiring or building a team as a solo founder versus already having co-founders?
Yeah, it's tough, right? It's tough doing things alone. I think the main benefit you get from co-founders, if it's your first time starting a company, is more spiritual actually than it is, something I could rationalize to you in a strategy post. But it's really just having people to chat with about the business, and having just soulmates. Because if you're first time going through it, basically, I mean, if you're your nth time going through it, but certainly your first time, basically the issue is that it's not really clear what to work on next. And more importantly, it's not really clear how to get motivation on what to work on next. This becomes easier, I think, once you have customers and revenue, but getting through those first few dark ages before you invent, the fire technology is really tough. So what I would recommend doing is, what was the question succinctly was, just want to make sure we address it properly. Was it the kind of like what to do or how to find co-founders?
I guess, where is conventional hiring advice
Right.
maybe wrong as it applies to being a solo founder? So not looking for a co-founder, just building your team.
Good reframe there, Rishi. I think the main way it's wrong is that you should probably more sooner rather than later hire people. Hire really anyone to do anything. I mean, hire a office manager, and just try not to be completely alone. I think like there are examples scattered throughout history of like the lone person really doing something, but it's more often when they find a small group, a little tribe that work really well. If you can't hire anyone because of cash or other reasons, at least try to work with other founders in some other way. So that's one thing I would consider.
Do you think that gets accomplished with like a part-time contractor working 5 hours a week?
Interesting question. And so I think what you're clawing at, which is I think true, is it's far more likely that this, if you're picking between, say, a part-time contractor who's very qualified and someone who's full-time, not really qualified, you may want to actually go full-time person, because you kind of really want someone that's committed and in the mission with you more than anything else. And you're not going to get that with a contractor. So on the margin, I would actually pick someone, that can just go all in with you. Now, by the way, one final thing that could be helpful is you could say, look, I'll just go all in for 3 months. You don't have to go all in for the rest of your life.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right,
anyway, I hope that was
one.
useful. Yeah. Okay. Pluckd. Got to keep the energy high here. Pluckd, bring your.
So Pluckd, before you get into the.
Okay. I'm not saying anything. Yep. Go ahead.
So Fernando from Portugal's question here is, he actually has some good positive feedback and engagement from early users. The problem is classic, user is not the buyer. How, as you browse, should he think about navigating that problem here?
A user is not the buyer, so maybe we can first quickly understand what that specifically means to him. So bring all teams together with shared goals, connect with your colleagues, share your knowledge, and learn from them. Find mentors inside your company, grow together. Okay, this is an interesting idea. This is basically the idea that like the issue with the problem, the constriction on human development is not necessarily the lack of content. There's infinite content. It's that success in disseminating information is part content, part delivery. And it's really, just the mentor can tell you things, even if they're literally reading out a blog post written by someone else, that will help you grow much more so than just reading the blog post. So obviously that's true. We hope, we think. And so this helps you do that within your company. And so that kind of makes sense. I would probably change this hero titling here. I think this is much better. I think find mentors inside your company and grow together makes much more sense than bring all teams together with shared goals. Those are actually completely two different products. Now that I say it out loud, I'm realizing you may want to figure out which one is most exciting to building. Now, I see you have a justification page here, which is very nice. Very nice. You're kind of answering your own question here. So it seems like you're rephrasing it. Maybe this is a different product. I think it's still the same, but it's just a justification page. It's a great lesson for other founders watching. Sometimes you have that. And so your issue is you're trying to sell to the organization and your buyer is not your user, ergo you think you're selling this to, say, managers or CEOs, and the users are people that may want to learn from other folks in their company. Interesting. So how would you think about doing that? Well, I mean, this is the type of thing that should do incredibly well in a remote world, actually, when the CEO of the company is seeking ways to kind of really engage the team, right? You're trying to figure out, how can I keep the team more engaged, chatting to each other more, talking to each other more. So if this is like a great piece of software for me to help build like an internal Reddit, effectively an enterprise Reddit, so that I can understand what are the things that other people are great at. By the way, I would highly recommend, I don't know if you're doing this in your product already, that it includes things outside the scope of work. I would like, can I find a mentor in my company to teach me piano? I think that would be very, very powerful for corporate bonding. Anyway, that message to me is kind of interesting because you could sell that to both the leadership and the, rank and file, and that would let you kind of sell the same thing to the same customer. So now that's a micro answer, maybe a more macro answer, what to do when your buyer is not the seller. Justification page, which is done here fairly effectively for managers, is pretty good. I don't know that this is the best justification. Workforce analytics meets upskilling. Like you could probably make this a bit better. Something like, does this work? Yeah. Make your team something like, Pluckd helps teams teach each other. I don't know if that's, I think that's better. That's still bad overall. Anyway, so justification page is one thing we mentioned. Another thing we can briefly touch on when you're hiring out the seller is obviously you could try to figure out how to do a bottoms up type of adoption and maybe connect those dots a bit more. And so I wonder if people can get started and kind of build up and set up their own profile for free, so they don't have to talk to anyone. And then maybe you charge them. That's the golden question, is to figure out when you charge them. I always like to think about the Zoom 45 to 60 minute thing. It's like the greatest thing, the greatest example of this. Zoom 45 minutes is free, 60 minutes charges you. And that's like right on the cusp of when it starts getting serious. It's kind of like a second, third date moment there. So it's worth thinking about what that is in your product, and that can help, bridge the separation a little bit between when the buyer and the user connect. And then maybe a third thing, just because it's nice to have things in triplicates, a third thing worth saying here is, with a strong enough sales force, you can kind of make your way anywhere. So sometimes it's helpful to think about maybe raising prices a little bit, just so that you can justify like a longer sales process if you think this thing's really good. Without more context, it's a bit hard to know more, but maybe that's hopefully, helpful kind of broad answers.
Great. I'm going to do a quick reorder on our lineup, because I think there's a interesting related question. So next up we have Miit, and we actually talked about Miit, miit.co, maybe 2 or 3 sessions ago. But you can pull that up and do a quick 10-second refresher before I give you the question.
Sounds good. Okay. So quickly go through the homepage. If you're just joining us now, we're going to go through the homepage and give some feedback to some of our Pioneer users. So this is greatestapever.com, by the way. Quick last minute redirect there. Interesting domain. Anyway, so it's the new way to meet people just like you. Miit is a mobile app that makes it easier to meet new people. Share, okay. Right, I see why you flagged this up now. It's fairly similar. It's kind of the consumer version of what we just saw previously in the enterprise. Okay, good stuff. Interesting homepage. Get the app. That's going to take me to a Kickstarter page. So I mean, like, I think we all have this kind of the same company questions here, but I'm going to let you ask me the question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So so Andrew posted on Frontier earlier this week and said he's been in the Pioneer tournament for 6 months, and the most common question he gets by far is, well, why is this going to work when everything else that has attempted this has not been stellar? And he has actually an interesting explanation for it. You can go to the Frontier post, the links in that spreadsheet, but I'll just kind of tell you the interesting part. Take 3 people who are interested in fitness. He says one does it because they love burgers, another because it helps them clear their head after a long day, and the third because they compete at a high level and are driven by the gains. And so despite enjoying the same activity, these people are completely different and are never going to connect deeply over that shared interest. And so what he believes is you need to get to know your user better and match them in ways that reflect real life. What do you think of basically the thesis behind them being different from others?
Good stuff. I mean, I still do wonder how this will be different from Reddit, because it's still in your example, all of those 3 people would be in the fitness Reddit group, or in the crazy fitness group if they're driven by gains, I guess. No, there is an interest. Maybe this is the thing, although the domain is slightly juvenile, that does take down Reddit. That's pretty interesting. Reddit's been around for like a very long, since 2006. Gosh, so it's almost a drinking age now, and maybe it's time for a better product. It's unclear to me that this location-based stuff works. Long has it been the case that location-based social networks don't really work broadly. They work in closed groups, things like Zenly, but not broad-based social networks. Maybe that'll change. New generation, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, different preferences. I kind of doubt. I mean, basically, the issue with this kind of stuff is that you are greatly restricting yourself in your market. Like, to your point, Andrew, to your point, that these 3 people, and the cool thing about the internet is that it bridges everyone. So I would not get overly affected on geo. Now, maybe you'll tell me, yeah, well, it's geo is one axis, there's multiple axes. Yeah, I would just stay focused and probably eliminate geo if you were really excited about that, if I were you. You're showing me screenshots of the app here. I'll be honest, none of the screenshots are like truly breakout. Events near me is a super hard problem that the large companies are now trying to crack. If you're going to do that, I would just bake the whole company around it. And then anyway, okay, here's what I would do, by the way. Fun fact, I don't know if you care at all for my feedback. If you're trying to take down Reddit, I would very much focus on, I think the way Reddit goes away, is a kind of a new platform for community mods to like have great community on it. And so what I would do more precisely is I would find top subreddits. I would speak to the mods, figure out what makes them unhappy. By the way, the reason I think the time is now is as all companies get large, the Reddit user experience is getting worse. Like, I'm sure if you use Reddit on the web, it's constantly bouncing you to the app, which is like never what you want. It's never giving you what you want because they have to give you the app, because they have to personalize the experience, because they have to show personalized ads, because non-personalized ads aren't driving enough CPC. Like, so the free market is making the product worse. And there's an opportunity, if you just call mods and say, like, what would you like that would be better? Now you might say, well, Reddit has like these network effects. And I'd say, no, I think the network effects are really limited to the subreddit. Don't get me wrong, by the way. I love Reddit. I love the team and the company. For me, just as a user, it's getting just a bit annoying to use some Reddit. So I do think if you like took this, step by step, you could take down some small communities. And so it's not really clear to me that it has a global network effect. It's pretty localized. The one final thing I would say is there are all these like niche forums on the internet that never made it on to Reddit. Like Let's Run is one example of them. Flyer Talk is another. I don't even know what software these things are using. I think they are awful to browse. Like they're basically forums and niche community forums, to your point. So I'm sure there's these for fitness. They're awful to browse. Literally, this looks like Looney Tunes website. And no offense if the Let's Run guys listening, I assume they're awful to browse and they don't update because they're minting money. But if you could make a way where these guys could kind of build maybe a great mobile experience, I do think that that would be a kind of a way to bootstrap a new company. Like anyway, so we've gone into deep space now and not really talking about your question, but food for thought.
Quick side note: if you have an easy access to faster or more reliable internet, you're cutting in and out a little bit, but if you're passable, if not.
Okay. Message received.
So Nat, Nathan would like product and onboarding feedback. I told him that you were not going to live OAuth your Gmail and Google Calendar, so he sent over a. Oh, did we lose Daniel? Guessing Daniel is just switching internet, switching Wi-Fi's.
That was interesting. I did manage to find faster internet, but I did have to go actually procure it at the internet store. But I'm back now.
Interesting. Little did I know the internet store was still readily available.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, oh yeah, you had up Nat.app. Nathan wants product and onboarding UX feedback. I told him you were unlikely to live OAuth your Gmail and GCal, so instead he sent over a Loom video that you can scroll.
Excellent. I'm screen sharing here again.
Yep.
By the way, for context, for people watching this is a CRM. So it's a CRM. We're looking at a screen here, in touch, not in touch, last contact. This is neat. Reconnect now. Send an email. Okay. And are we giving product feedback? Is that the idea?
Yep. And specifically, I think onboarding feedback.
Oh.
Which yeah, actually, yeah, I guess you can't really do that one. So just product feedback is fine.
Yeah, it seems like a healthily onboarded customer. Okay, so a couple things going on here. This seems like an awesome CRM. I would totally use this. I'm not interested in in terms of what's interesting, I think. Look, I think there's a broader question for Nat, which is who are you building for? Because I think the CRM market's quite crowded in some worlds and uncrowded in others. So if we go to his website, it says use our personal CRM to find who you're losing touch with. It's for CEOs and founders and consultants. Okay, so I'm somewhat qualified, I guess, to speak. What I saw was a lot of last contact time over Gmail, which is great. I definitely want that. I unfortunately want something that's going to be really annoying for you to build, which is like last contact time across all networks. So across WhatsApp and Signal and iMessage. This is possible, but really challenging to build. But anyway, that would be a killer feature. We can think of three things, three quick pieces of feedback. So that would be one. How would you do that, by the way? I'd probably look at Matrix, the like Matrix bridge world where you can like get WhatsApp data, without having to like reverse engineer the WhatsApp API. So that's one. Two is I'm not interested in the like, let me help you write an email. I can probably do that on my own. Three, so like, I don't know, that's not where I would focus my energy. I guess it's the more helpful way of saying that. Three is, I would want shared indexes, basically. Like, the issue is if it's part of your job to some extent to be in relationship and in contact with people, there's the question of like why you would want to be in contact with them, and time is only one dimension of that. Space is another. So just like knowing where people live and being able to search and pivot by that. Interests is another, kind of similar to the other two prior conversations we were having. So there would be nice if there was a way to record all those things and pivot by them. The fourth final bonus thing I would say is I would probably never use this in my personal Gmail or corporate Gmail. The Pioneer permissions wouldn't let me. So you need to figure out if I am alone, or if not, how to work around this OAuth, K2 or Mount Everest you have in front of you. The other side of the mountain looks beautiful, but I don't know exactly how you'll climb it. There are all sorts of shenanigan ways to get around this, but you should figure them out. Okay, anyway, that's my feedback. Great stuff. Really great stuff. Exciting and fun.
Great. Next up, landing page and one-liner feedback.
Dap.land.
Oh, no. Yes.
It's down for both of us.
Dino's just waking up. It worked for me.
Or it's DNS. I don't know. Can we do a quick dig?
You can go down to Aichom.com. It's two down.
Yeah, results.
List.
Okay, great. Well, it's not unfortunately part of Pioneer's value proposition that we fix your websites, but we understand that things break during demos. Visual search as a service, empower software with quick lookup by image, instant, engaging, discoverable. Look, this is really awesome. It's very clear that I think we'll return back to our caveman, primordial soup of just communicating with photos and images and searching using that instead of words. Oh, I like the demo here. By the way, the plant lookup thing, you ought to be careful with. I think that is a very interesting but dedicated domain that would be interesting to focus on. You just need to be careful because you might kill people. I have seen like these plant lookup apps, and I always want, some of them use AI. I always wonder if they're going to kill someone because you're going to use it to figure out if you can eat the weird root you found on the trail. Anyway, food for thought.
Literally.
Can happen. So how it works, list what you want to search, add 30 images per item, ready to search instantly. It works for all objects, coffee bean, knitting style, local food. Awesome. Pre-trained, ready to go. So I guess first of all, great. I understand what this is. This is a great demo. Nice, scrolling, request access. All good. I like that you already have your cookie, GDPR cookie modal. Highly compliant company. Anyway, my main question is like, this is being done by the big boys. So how are you going to be better or different? It's such an annoying question, but this is really being done by the big boys, like all day.
You read, this is
Fine.
being built by May in Vietnam, and you read her mind because her second question is, should I worry about Google, Microsoft, et cetera? How can startups compete?
It's an interesting question. The great news for you, and we'll get to your first question in a minute. We address the second because we're on topic. The great news is Google is pummeling people with this, but it's not really used much. Why isn't it used is super interesting. My belief is that search interfaces in particular, having worked on text search for a while, the customer needs to know at the end of the day that when they engage the product, it will work. And you have like 6-7 times to prove and for the customer to build a mental model here. And if you don't, then they don't use your product. So that's the issue Siri has, and that's the issue image search has, right? Is you kind of use it a couple of times, it doesn't work, and so you don't remember to use it. Google keeps on pummeling you with like, try the image search thing, and you kind of think, no, it's not going to work. Why would I bother? So the good news is the canvas is still open. I would encourage you to focus on a domain because I think that will enable you to achieve a much better user experience that people can build a habit to. So you seem to have a lot of plants in your demo reel. We've been staring at that now. It's very hypnotizing to look at, but you can focus on plants. You can, I don't know what you want to focus on. Like Amazon's variant of this is focused on products, of course, you can buy. That really doesn't work because this is interesting. Why doesn't it work? It doesn't work because finding products is easier through text anyway. Also, the thing is often not in front of you. That's why you want to buy it. I always thought the Amazon stuff was so stupid on this point. Like, you want a duffel bag, so you search for duffel bag. It's not like you're staring at a duffel bag and think, I want a duffel bag. Anyway, so focus on a domain would be my second point of feedback, a second answer to your question, and try to beat them at that domain. And I have a problem with getting first customers, cold email, progress seems slow. I've sent 10, 20 emails and I've not received interest. Yes, okay. So for everyone trying to get users, here's the main issue that you face. The main issue that you face, the good and the bad news, I'll tell you right now. The bad news is there are other people trying to get users. And they're called like Salesforce and Comcast and IRS. Everyone's doing blitzing ads these days. The fight for attention is extreme. The great news is that a lot of people are staring at their computer all day now because of quarantine and so forth. So it should be a bit easier to get customers. So you are, sorry to tell you this, you will need to send more than 20 emails a week. If you want email to work, you will need to send 20,000, 2,000. Start thinking with those numbers. You can do it. It's free, kind of. So would highly recommend you add a few zeros to your aspiration. That's what the people in Silicon Valley are doing. They don't eat different food. They don't dress differently. They're just sending more emails. That's the main difference. So you can be that too. The other thing you can do is once you find your little vertical, you find a community that will really love you for that vertical. Like I'm sure there's a botanist community that would love you, a plant vertical. And I'm sure there's I don't know, car community that would love a car vertical. Anyway, I think that will help you get users. Find your cult and find your passion. I actually felt I gave decent feedback that time, and so I think we can move on.
Agreed.
Aichom. Aichom? Aichom. Feels like the name given to a Greek navigator, that sailed, with the flag of Poseidon. Anyway, yeah, this is the dementia thing. We've seen this before. The invisible guard. I still think this is a decent idea. I don't think this is the right pitch. I'm also not a fan of the lowercasing of the pitch. It looks slightly like, at the end of the day, you're trying to sell security and confidence. If you're going to do the lowercase thing for like a Snapchat audience, that makes sense. But you're trying to sell like safety. So capitalization is great. The fonts are a bit weird. I think this is very similar to feedback of what I've given before. I also think, by the way, this wording isn't totally bad. You're invisible guard. And the screenshots kind of tell the story. Like, I kind of understand what this is. You could make it a bit easier for people by saying something like, I understand. I hear you in my head. You're saying, well, I don't want to freak them out and make it appear that it's like, state police, the FSB keeping tabs on you. But I still think there's a way, like, I don't know. Keep family. I don't know, something like that. There's a lot of companies selling FUD to people with aging parents. So I can think you can take, by the way, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, is just scare tactics basically that sell. So I think you can do that. What's the question here? Could you take a look at our website? Is it clear what we deliver? So yes, but you could do better. Is it memorable? No, because your name is not descriptive. But if you changed your name to something more descriptive, I think it could be more memorable. So I don't think you want your name to be like Dementia Watch, but something that's like Safeguard. Safeguard is actually not bad. Anyway, I think it could be more memorable. What do you think about your slogan, your invisible guard? I told you, I actually think it hits pretty well, but too aspirational for a homepage for my taste, but it hits pretty well. Did you suggest to include competitor analysis later on in the website? Yes, but not at the top. Thank you in advance and looking forward to the feedback session. You're welcome, and I hope that was somewhat helpful. Live simulator. Learning inside virtual environments. It's like lucid dreaming for VR. That didn't make sense. Okay. This website looks extremely serious. Like, if this website was a song, it would be like very serious metal, in my opinion. I experienced that because of the font choice, which looks like a typewriter from a horror movie, and these people seem very angry. So, and the big email at the top with the capitalized .com reeks of a certain seriousness. Anyway, you can email Blake to schedule a class. So what's going on here, Rishi? What should we discuss?
So Blake has a bit of an indirect question, which is he's in a space, public safety, where there aren't a lot of great examples of venture-backed startups. And so I think he's just looking for good, successful examples that he can learn from in public safety, whether that be fire, EMS, maybe even police.
Is that really true? I mean,
Mark 43 is an interesting one. I haven't heard of them actually for a couple of years now, but I do think they were making some noise a while
I don't
ago.
know, like there's like a whole Crunchbase list. They're going to charge me here, but you get the idea. There's a lot of these. Scattershot, what's going on with those guys? I don't think so. I think if you do some Googling, you'll find that there's a lot. I think you're going to come up with an issue, which is the sales cycle to local cities and governments. It's a little challenging. So something to think about. But I think there's a ton of startups selling to local governments and local police. So I wouldn't be I would just Google around. I'm sure you can find quite a few. I think if maybe you'd ask me an adjacent question, which is I found a few, but it's just so hard to sell to like, Albuquerque, New Mexico, municipality, police, whatever, state police. So I do think the thing a founder can do, look, there's like boring answers to this question. People have heard 5,000 times. You try, sell, figure out who the buyer is, whatever. One interesting thing you can do kind of even over the holidays, which is kind of fun, is really build a groundswell of support, of audience, just by like showing off how cool the thing is before selling it, could let you establish some credibility. I'm really inspired, and one thing we've been discussing in Pioneer of late is just how visual SpaceX is and how much that contributes to its success. Meaning it's much easier for Elon to, I think, negotiate and kingmake with governments and endowments and whatever he needs, partially because SpaceX is there's like amazing content for it. There's like rockets exploding. I don't think if SpaceX was doing nanotech, I think it would be quite harder. So like I would try to make this visual and fun on Twitter or the internet broadly, whatever the outlets are that your users watch. And then, so when you send them the email, you'd be warming it up a little bit. That's an indirect answer to the first question.
Great, that was the only question. We have two left.
Well, there's a great quote here, which is, I guess that's what it means to be a pioneer. You're going to have to blaze a trail. Yes, you will. Hopefully without starting a fire. Anyway, thank you. Moving on.
Great. We have two more, so let's speed through them with the time that we have left. Next up, I'm actually going to ask a slightly different question from the one Gers asked.
All right, what's the question?
What will it take for something like this to work that has not already been tried?
Awesome. Love that reframing, because we all can the great news is the homepage we look at, we understand what it is. It's food, fresh food, it's cooked, and we're all wondering the same thing. So Rishi's done a nice job of contorting that into a question. Aha. I feel like we read the answer this weekend. We read the answer this weekend with this guy. Everyone read about this guy, Mr. Beast. He launched a giant burger chain, and it's basically what Zesty is. Mr. Beast is giving you the Mr. Beast burger, and it launched in 400 chains in 400 stores around the country. So to me, that's kind of a beginning of the answer, which is food. At a base level, if you're going to compete at a base level with food, the issue Zesty has currently is you're competing with like all the like locally available options, and you have a delivery cost. So like you have a much higher cost, and you're competing with like, I can just go outside to Publix and buy food, or to Safeway, or whatever your supermarket is. So the way to overcome that is you need to do one of two things. Either you go super local. This is called starting a restaurant. Okay, that could work. It won't be a giant company. Or you need to raise the value such that your food is perceived as basically alien food, which is what Mr. Beast did. So Mr. Beast's burger presumably costs more than it does to make by a fair amount. And the reason you buy the Mr. Beast burger is because you love Mr. Beast. You think he's like a celebrity. So what I would do is one of two things. Either establish your own kind of weird cult, and that could be becoming an influencer or just going after a weird diet maybe, and and maybe this is, at the end of the day, you become a CPG brand if you do this. Like Quest Bar is huge, and RX Bar got sold for $400 million. So that's how, one could get sold. Or what I think could be very interesting for Zesty is Zesty could kind of take the view, yes, Zesty could take the view that Mr. Beast is the beginning of a trend. And all these YouTube celebrities and Instagram celebrities are going to have their own meals and foods. And so you're actually never going to see Zesty directly, but they're going to power all of that dark kitchen kind of stuff behind the scenes. So I could totally envision the Gordon Ramsay meal getting prepared and delivered by Zesty, the Dua Lipa smoothie, the, Emma Chamberlain coffee, that whatever it is, that's how Zesty would get big. Does that make sense?
Whoops, I was muted. Yes, that does make sense.
Basically, like you would become Shopify for food for these big Instagram stars. I think that could totally work. Let's change the homepage. Just the founder is totally going to send a Scud missile after us for doing this, but so transactional would be sell your Mr. Beast has a burger. Cooking, shipping, and whatever. On enhancing your audience's experience, something like that. Anyway, you could get slightly more whimsical. You could say something like, build your burger base. Okay.
That's interesting. The beauty there is then hopefully you don't have to compete on price, because that's the thing that kills them.
Oh, totally. I think you would want religions do this, right? Religions have kosher food is more expensive than normal food, and you pay price for it. So, all right.
This is the last one. Brian wants onboarding flow feedback. You can actually go through the onboarding after you do the landing page, since you'll just get an email in your inbox that you just have to sign in with.
Okay. Not gonna screen share that. This is stupid. Sorry to be blunt. This additional email confirmation. Why is this necessary? This is a unique link. Just or it in live. Okay, great. So onboarding, I thought that was fine. Neat. I guess you're not being super constricting here with the password requirements, just getting me a unique link for my email. I can now make my own email. I see what you're doing here. In my opinion, it is too cute to have this constantly moving, refreshing thing. I'm now staring at it instead of working for you. So I don't know. It feels like at a Gringotts from Harry Potter. So I put in my name, test, and then I hit create. You should let me see my email, please. I'm in my private world here, so I have no clue what this means. If you really want to hide it for me, please hide less characters. It's literally like, okay. Probably want to put the name of it in quotes, because I do think everyone's going to start with the first thing called test, and here it says send test. I'm going to assume that as a customer, I came in here with intent. And so I kind of know what I want to get out of this. Yeah, so like just change the defaults here if you want to keep the button. Send test, and I presume that's going to mail to, yeah? Okay. Oh, interesting. It sends a test. Oh, okay, so it actually is sending tests. That's funny. I take back my comment. I guess what happens
That's
now?
Unfortunate.
Maybe, yeah, it was very funny. I mean, look, maybe I'm not the only one that's going to do it. New name, test 2. Okay. Details. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, looks decent. I guess you might want to basically like this. You kind of get stuck here. I presume if I have intent, I move on. You probably want a larger copy button because that's where you want me to advance to. You want me to copy and leave your website for now. Where do I actually see the mailbox? Clicking around.
It looks like it's going to get forwarded.
Oh, he's just going to forward it to me. Okay, that makes sense. That's different from some of the other ones where the mailbox is inlined. Which makes sense. You don't want to write a whole like parser and whatever. That takes forever. New. Okay, got a new mailbox. That's my overall feedback. I think the main question is like, why would I use this over, say, Mailionator or any of those other services? The main value prop of those services is that I never have to link a genuine email account. So I can really be anonymous. Here, you're asking me to give you an email account. So I guess I can make a fake Google email account, but then why would I use you? So it's not clear to me you should ask for email for registration to begin with. That would be point number 1. Point number 2, and a related idea I was thinking of actually was inspired by, Dan Romero, Twitter. He actually wrote this. You may want to hop on this idea he had. I thought it was kind of interesting. Oh, very nice. Opportunity. I thought this was an interesting concept. It's kind of half of what you're doing. So it basically gives you the whole bundle. It's a single-use email address, 1, 2, phone number, delivery address, and maybe even a credit card, all 4 components at once that are just reusable. The credit card, maybe you could use privacy.com for. I think they have an API. The PO box stuff you'd figure out, Earth class mail or what have you. The phone number, burner.com. The email is easy. So just packaging it up would be interesting. I don't know if there's a real need for this in the large world, but I think this could be one of those products where I'll give you an example. I pay Earth class mail quite a bit every month. I don't know how large that user base is, but I think this could be similar. You may charge people $100, $200 a month for this type of thing. And maybe the TAM isn't that large, but there's a great cash flow business to be had. So interesting idea, decent execution here, decent to great. It's nice, the website's fast, so that's great. And that's it. I guess if people just join the bare end of this, obviously, if you want to be part of the next review, you should check out pioneer.app. The website will you can do us a favor and do to us what we do to others and give us feedback on our homepage, because we're unable to do that. We stared at it too long. That's it. Rishi, is there anything else we should cover?
That's it. Thanks, Daniel.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great holiday, Rishi. And we'll catch up soon.